Hello everyone and welcome back to part 4 of the How to Draw a Horse in Coloured Pencils tutorial here on YouTube. I hope you're all doing really well and you're excited to get stuck into this next part. As always, everything that you need to know about this tutorial is listed in the description, and I'll also put the link to part 1 in case you want to start from the beginning and you've just stumbled upon this video now. So, without further ado, let's just get started. So for this video we're going to move our way upwards and start working on the ear and the mane and stuff like that. So first things first, let's use the dark sepia 175 again just to map in some of the key areas. So we've got this bit here, so it goes up like that, and then I'm also going to map in the ear because if you have a look, the ear is really dark and sort of the outside of it is very dark, so I'm not afraid to go around with a slightly darker colour to map that in. I don't like to put really bold outlines around everything, but if it's dark then I'm not too fussed. And then it sort of comes down here a little bit where that mane comes across. Then let's just add a little bit of detail in here. Again, just a bit of an outline, so that when we get rid of the pencils we can still see what's going on. And let's add a little bit here. Managed to lose a little bit of my outline, but it's all good. A little bit there. Comes across here a bit like this. And comes down like that. So just mapping in the key areas for now. I'm being quite rough with it. I'm not being like super tight with my lines. I'm just being quite rough and soft. Just adding that bit in. Let's just map in where this bit is here. And this bit. A little bit there. Okay, and I'll leave it there for now. Let's start on the actual ear itself and then we'll sort of fill this bit in afterwards. Oh, and before we do, let's just add that line there. I've missed that. There we go, that'll do. Then let's just take our putty eraser or whatever eraser you have, just tidy it up a bit, and I'm going to use the base colour, the warm grey one, 270, and I'm going to take that over the ear, get a nice smooth base colour. Part of me is wondering whether to start using warm grey 2 instead of the warm grey 1 in areas, just to like build up the richness a little bit quicker with it being slightly darker. But I feel like because I've started with this now, and if any of you have bought the pencils specifically, I wouldn't want to go changing it, but I might have to use that in some of the darker areas. But it is a pencil that I use a lot, so I would recommend getting it if you are building up your kit from scratch and buying individual pencils. Okay. So now I'm going to use the burnt ochre 187 and just do a wash of orange over the whole ear. Can't really see much pink going on, so I'm going to leave out the beige red and we'll just do this. Make it nice and orange and rich. I went to a paint and sip class on Monday at Revolution, so it was just like a chilled, like fun painting class, and I've still got paint in my nails. I keep washing my hands and I can't seem to get it out, so please excuse the paint in my nails. I went with Becca Barron Art, who's another artist on here. She does pet portraits and she does tutorials as well, so if you enjoy these, go and check hers out as well. But yeah, my zebra, because we did a zebra, didn't look all too great. I don't think I'm very good at painting. I think I'm going to be sticking to coloured pencils, but yeah, for some reason the paint just, it's like ingrained in my skin now. Okay, let's leave that there for now, and I'm going to now use the Burnt Umber 280 and I'm going to start to create a little bit more shape in that ear. So going over these lines a little bit more, darken them up. Can get away with that being a bit darker. Same at this side. Let's just darken that up, applying a bit more pressure. Okay, and same again on this like inner line. Let's darken that up. There we go, and let's just darken this bit up again. Right, I'll leave it there for now and then I'll start to do some strokes coming out of it. So starting to build up the shadow, doing little taps. Looking for that direction of the fur, it sort of like comes out like this. And just slowly build that up. I'm going to start to bring some up here. It's very dark this ear, but you can just see little bits of fur direction and stuff in there, so just take your time as always. Bringing it across here. I do tend to jump around sometimes just to like keep myself interested. So coming out from this line here, blending it in. Trying to create a roundness by sort of darkening it up from each side and lighting it up as you get to the middle. So lightening it up a little bit here now. Try and make it look round. And by not applying as much pressure, just doing it a bit lighter, a bit softer. Darkening it up from that bottom corner. Start bringing it down here now, it sort of comes down in this direction. I'm going to darken it up a little bit here. I can see it's a bit darker. And then it does start to get a little bit darker again around here, so it's a bit lighter there, a bit darker here, so just keep that in mind. And it sort of like starts to curl round a little bit here as well. Darkening that line up a little bit. And then as you start to get down here, it starts to come upwards more, so almost in this direction, like in an upwards diagonal. So I'm going to have to bend my hand around a little bit here, but you'll obviously be able to move your paper around. I just like to keep it in place for the sake of the tutorial. So it just makes it a little bit hard work. Okay, then here you can't really see much of a direction, so do you know what, I might just colour that in. Let's not waste time. Let's just colour that in. So it is quite dark as well, it's just going to be almost a flat colour, but not quite. Then let's just do the same on this outside bit, and then we'll add a bit of fur direction in with a darker colour on top. There we go. So now I'm going to go back to my Dark Sepia 175 and darken up these lines again. And here. And same here. Just darkening that up. And I'm going to start to just add some little strokes coming in from that right hand edge of the ear. If you look really closely, you can see a little bit of fur direction. So it just comes in like this. So I'll just build that up, and then at least we've got a bit of texture. And then when you get down to here, you can't really tell what's going on, so I'll just blend it in. Then back to this bit, gonna carry on. Just add in a teeny tiny bit of texture, just make it look more interesting. A little bit from the left. Blend it in a bit more. And then I'm going to darken up this left side. So, again, like I said, it's just very dark here. You can't really see all that much texture or detail. It's just a dark area. Just going to blend it in. Sometimes it's not worth bothering doing little tiny strokes and building up texture if there isn't actually much there. You can just colour it instead. Made that a bit pointy. It's better. Okie dokie, and then I'm going to start to blend out from that centre part again. So add a bit of a line, and then now we are doing little fur strokes again because we can see the texture here and we want it to look like fur. So I'm going to take my time and build that up. It's already starting to give a bit more shape to the ear. Might end up needing like a bit of a red tone or something, you know, just to give it that nice rich colour, but we'll cross that bridge later once we've done this colour. Then I'm going to blend some from that right hand edge. Just bring that in, round that shape off a little bit. Making sure it's just really well blended there. Tightening up this middle bit. I'm going to blend a little bit more down there. And let's darken up this left side a little bit. A little bit from the bottom. Might just add a bit more to the top. I feel like that's a little bit too light. Blend through that middle bit a tad more. There. Then back to this bit. and blend from that inside shadowy area and sort of blend it into the middle bit. Add a bit more there just to like blend that line out a bit. Just applying a little bit more pressure. Okie. And let's add some burnt sienna 283. We'll get that red tone in there. So just blend that in. Make it look more rich, more vibrant. There we go, so that's looking a lot richer already. Just keep blending that in, going over it again and again just to get as much pigment as you can down. Obviously without like pressing way too hard, we're just smushing it in. Not really adding as much at the top, it's not as red, maybe just blend a little bit in. Okay, and then let's add some black 199 now and just darken it all up. So let's start from that right hand edge again. I think this is where it's gonna like really get more shape and dimension to it. I feel like I can't talk properly today, like my words aren't coming out right. I think it's because I'm a bit tired today. So just blending that in. Lots of little strokes just to build up a bit of texture. then let's add some on this inner bit, darken that line up a bit. Just blend a little bit from that line and into the middle of this bit. So going upwards in an upwards diagonal. Just going to blend it in a bit at the bottom where it's darker. Oops. Just erase that line that I just made. Oops. And then I'm going to start to do some little strokes from that very outer part of the ear and in, just to try and blend all that in together. So it sort of curves round into this main bit of the ear. Darken that up a little bit. And blend in a little bit more. Then blend from the inside. Building that shadowy area up. Blending out. And then I'm going to do some from the side of the ear there and blend in. darken up this top bit. And this little inner bit here, darken that up, add a bit more of a line. And the outer area, might as well just shade that in there. Shade it in a bit up here, and then I'm going to start to bring that black in from the edge like we did at the other side and just round it off a little bit. A little bit there. It's starting to look a lot more rounded. I do find the black blends in nicer when you don't press too hard with it. You do lots of little light strokes, it just sort of blends in a bit better. Just going to add a bit more to the middle bit here. Blend out from the middle bit. Anywhere that you feel like it needs to be a bit darker. And I might just ever so slightly darken that middle bit up even more. Okay, now let's move on to the main area. I'm just going to get rid of any smudges or pencil marks or anything like that. And then we're going to go back to our warm grey one and use that to add a base colour. So we're going to be careful because some of it's quite wispy fur. It's not like solid chunky sections of fur. So around here I am just going to sort of do it a bit more like little fur strokes, but obviously in the same sort of texture and direction as the actual bits of hair. So here, that sort of comes down like that. So just do it in the same general area, you don't have to get it perfect. Then here, just gonna bring it around like that. And then the chunkier bits you can just like colour in a bit of the base colour, but just keep your eye out for where all the different parts of it are, like the thinner bits and the chunkier bits. There we go, and then of course this middle bit we can just solidly colour in because that is just one big solid section of hair. So do all this bit, and then when we get to this bit we go back to doing a little strokes, more like wispy bits. Like that. Okie dokie, so there's a bit of a warm grey look to the mane. It's not got much blue in it, it's mostly just like a warm grey. So I want to use a medium sort of tone warm grey before I go in with the dark sepia. I feel like that would be too dark too soon. So I'm going to use warm grey 4 273, which is sort of like I said, a mid-tone sort of warm grey, slightly on the darker side. And what I'm going to start doing is just building up the fur, doing some long strokes and just creating a bit of texture. Always looking for the direction of the strands of hair. I mean, we might end up adding a bit of blue if it's looking flat, but overall it's quite warm. And I'm just going to bring that down here. So doing lots and lots of strokes. Nice long hair. We'll be adding more detail with darker colours, so it's just a case of building up a little bit of texture. Darken that bit up. So it's all quite flat for now, but we'll be adding a bit more interest with some darker colours afterwards. Bringing it down here. That sort of comes round like that. And it is quite coarse, the hair, it's like got texture to it. It's a bit frizzled looking, so we're not being too straight with our strokes, we're being quite messy in a way. bring that up there a little bit. Then let's start to do some of these little bits coming off. Holding my pencil quite like high up just gives you a bit more of a loose feel on it, and you can get more messy fur rather than it, ooh, just did it again, rather than it being too perfect. So just bringing that around here. Do some little bits there. Then let's do these bits. Again, just doing like slightly messy little textured bits. Bit going up there. Do this bit. Again, I'm not being super perfect, I'm being quite messy. Not too messy, obviously, but just not losing much time trying to get it all perfect. I want it to look a little bit scruffy. There we go. Then I'm going to use the dark sepia 175 and start now to add some more depth into this mane. So start pressing on a little bit harder, and I'm just doing like long strokes and just sort of overlapping them a bit in places, just following that hair texture. I'm looking for darker areas, like up here it's a bit darker, so we can focus a little bit more of that there. Blend it out a little bit into the rest of that. Do some bits here. So yeah, we're just looking for darker areas and adding more strokes where the darkest bits are, and then blending it out a bit where it's a bit lighter. We're still sort of having that slightly like messy, imperfect look to it, where it's not too straight, it's a bit curly, it's a bit frazzled. And let's just add a bit more of a darker line just there, and then we can darken up these bits. These bits are a lot darker, so I sat behind that section there. So again, I'm going to hold the pencil quite high up to get a bit more of a loose grip on it. And if you go too dark with any of the little strands, just use your eraser to soften it up a bit more. It's almost a bit easier if you do it a bit quicker, like if you don't spend too long obsessing over the details and you just sort of go for it. Almost comes out looking a little bit better. Do some bits sort of coming upwards like that. Have like different strands all crossing over and it just makes it look a bit more natural. Maybe a little bit lighter here because they're only fine little light hairs. Just change my battery over. There we go. And I'm going to darken up this little bit here. And this bit. And then just going to bring some bits down here, going around this bit just to make that a bit thinner. Don't be afraid to like overlap your strokes and like go in different directions, and you don't want it to look all straight and boring. You want it to look like wispy and organic and fluid. So let's blend a bit more around here. Okay. And then I'll just do this bit. Maybe I did a little bit too much there, but it's fine. I use a bit of artistic license, it's all good. And then I'll just add a bit here. Okay, then let's use some black 199 and start to darken that up. We need a lot more depth and interest in this hair. I keep wanting to say fur, but I suppose it's more hair, isn't it? So just going in now and applying a bit more pressure just to get a bit more depth. We might end up needing like a colder grey colour or something just to add a bit more variation in the tones, but we'll see. We'll see how we get on. Making sure it's nice and dark next to this line here. Just doing some really thin little bits just to make it look a bit more wispy. Do some little bits here. There we go. And then let's start to add some into this bit and just break it up a bit more. Might end up needing a darker black or something. Just going to apply a little bit more pressure to darken it up a bit more. Sometimes you just have to keep going back over and adding more layers to darken it up. So it is a very dark area of fur. Well, hair. Gonna shade that in a bit just to try and make sure that edge isn't too light. blend a bit more in, sort of blending that fur into this section. Okay, and then let's do some here. Blend a bit down here. A bit down here. So, like I said before, that sometimes you don't want to press too hard with the black, but I'm just going for it with this bit because it is really dark and I feel like we can afford to add a bit more pressure. You just have to keep going back over it to like get the depth that you want. So going over that bit there. Darken up this bit definitely. And this bit. I do find that with the hot pressed watercolour papers you do need to press on a bit harder than if I was using like the Strathmore Bristol Vellum. So obviously it's all relative to what paper you're using, how hard you need to press, but for the black areas I do find that I can get away with adding a bit more pressure. Add a bit more here. Starting to look good now. Just add a little bit here. There we go, it's starting to look really good. Let's just add a little bit there and a little bit around here, not too much. Okay, and then if need be, if you want to, you can add a little bit more of another black. I'm not sure if it would really do all that much. I'm going to try the Derwent Drawing Ivory Black. I'm going to see if I can just get a little bit more depth in there. This I don't want to press on hard with because it can go quite mucky if you press hard. So you're literally just touching the paper Obviously if you don't have another black, just leave this part. This is just an extra little bit you can do if you want to like really create more depth. It does help, like if you look there, that's made it even darker. Like this bit, I need to be careful when I rest my hand over this area though in the next part because it's going to be a smudge hazard. There we go. Can you see that's just like added a load more depth? I might actually be tempted to add a bit in the ear itself. To blend that out a bit more. A little bit here. Okay, and I am going to leave that part there for now. We can always perfect it a bit more in the next video, but I feel like we've made good progress. We've done a whole year, so yeah, I'm pleased with it and I hope you've enjoyed it too. If you did, then I'd love it if you could give this video a like because it really does help this channel out. Subscribe to see more videos like this and I shall see you in the next one, so bye for now.